Broncos country, we are back, and in today's video, we're going over the Week 3 preview of the Denver Broncos traveling to Los Angeles, technically Inglewood, California, to take on the Los Angeles Chargers. Man, this is going to be a good one. This is our first AFC West matchup of the year for the Broncos. And yeah, the Chargers are a really good team. This is going to be a tough one for the Broncos. If you do enjoy this video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel down below, as the support is greatly appreciated. Let's jump straight in to this video. Starting off, we got the current records, of course. It's early in the season. It's week 3. The Broncos were 1-1, tied for second in the AFC West with the Las Vegas Raiders. Could be 2-0, but some miscues led to us not being 2-0. I'm not going to say, oh, we should be 2-0. We could be 2-0, but we had a lot of mistakes. We didn't play a full 4 quarters of football, right? Will Lutz misses the kick. Bo Nix throws a crucial interception. A crucial leverage penalty cost us the Colts game-losing field goal. So, could be 2-0, but we're 1-1, still in a good position. But we got to take on the Los Angeles Chargers, who are 2-0, first in the AFC West. Not only are they first in the AFC West, but they played 2 division games already. So they already have 2 division wins, which goes a long way into determining tiebreakers and honestly winning the division, getting those momentum and those honestly big key matchups to shift the standings. The Chargers are already 2-0, and a win over us, they have already split the division, or I guess, yeah, split the division series with all the division rivals. So if they would lose each of the other 3, they've already split. So the Chargers are in a good position. It's a home game. It's week 3. So, man, it's going to be a tough one. Let's jump into this breakdown. Here are my 4 keys to the game for the Broncos to pull out this victory. Number 1 is the defense has to return to form. Week 1, the defense was very solid. I won't say they played perfect. There were still some miscues and mistakes, but they looked really, really solid. Then in week 2, Alex Singleton, Justin Strnad were getting burned. Pat Surtain was not playing his best game. And honestly, the defense just allowed Daniel Jones and the Colts offense to drive up and down the field constantly. They did not punt a single time in that week 2 game. However, we did stop them on 4th down twice when they decided to go for it. So technically, they could have punted there, but still, the defense absolutely has to return to form against this potent Chargers offense if we want to come out with the victory here in week 3. The second thing we have to do is we have to play discipline. There were many, many penalties that I thought the Broncos could have avoided and that could have changed the outcome of the game. The first one was obviously the leverage call that set up another game-winning chance for Spencer Schrader of the Colts to kick that game winner. Another one was when J.K. Dobbins spiked the ball after a big run, which got us a delay of game penalty, which knocked us back. And then after that, it was a illegal use of the hands to the face on Adam Troutman, which backed us up a good and took us out of field goal range. Then Bo Nix had the interception. So we have to play discipline, right? And that kind of leads into the next point that I have, is to protect the football. We have been very, very turnover prone these first 2 weeks, right? Bo Nix with 2 interceptions and a fumble in week 1. Marvin Mims muffing the punt. Bo Nix with an interception last week. So we have to protect the ball if we want to win against the Chargers. Not many times are you going to lose a turnover battle and still win the game. And the Broncos, we almost did that in our first 2 games of the season. So we absolutely have the ball. The trend of losing the turnover battle cannot continue. And number 4, we have to play a complete game. On last Sunday when we played the Colts, I thought we played a very solid first half. And it's like, okay, this is the offense that we saw, or I guess I would say the offense played a solid, complete first half. It's like, okay, this is the offense we were expecting, right? So, yeah, let's continue. And then they kind of teetered off in the second half. So to me, I think that you have to combine a full, complete game with both the offense and the defense, right? Week 1 was the defense showing out. Week 2 was the offense showing out at the start, and then they kind of trailed off at the end. So got to play a complete game. Those are my keys to victory. I'm going to try and speed this up because I'm actually talking a lot for this first part of the video, and we need to get through this fairly quickly. Here are the injuries for the Broncos. Nate Atkins, he has an ankle injury. I put in, he isn't specified, but it sounds like he's leaning towards playing. Nick Bonito, I would expect him to be in. Alex Singleton, probably going to be in. Talanoa Hufanga, probably going to be in. But the two, I guess, everyone's out except for two players, right? And it's two key pieces. It's Evan Ingram, who, we know he got hurt in, what was it? I think it was week 1, played in week 2. But, he only had 1 reception. So Evan Ingram is out, which takes away a dynamic piece of our offense. And then linebacker Dre Greenlaw, he has yet to play this season. We need him out on the field because we have seen where our linebackers have struggled. We need the LB1 of this team back out there as soon as possible. Hopefully it's for the Monday night game versus the Bengals next week, but we'll see. As for the Chargers injuries, they had a scare with Ladd McConkey, but he's probably going to play. They got Cam Hart and Dayan Henley, who are both questionable, and then tight end Will Dissly and Elijah Molden are out, as well as Khalil Mack is going to be out. He is on IR, actually. So, he'll miss the next 4 games, at least for the Chargers. Moving on to the head coaching battle, it's Sean Payton versus Jim Harbaugh. This is Sean Payton's 18th year in the NFL as a head coach, his 3rd with the Broncos. You can see his all-time wins and losses. He has a .617 win percentage, and he is going up against Jim Harbaugh, who is in his 2nd year with the Chargers, who has an outstanding .693 win percentage. That is phenomenal. He is an absolute winner, right? He's won everywhere he's gone. So it's going to be a tough battle. Jim Harbaugh is a great coach, and it'll be interesting to see how this one matches up. As for the coordinators, the Broncos, our OC is Joe Lombardi, former Chargers OC. Our DC is Vance Joseph, our former head coach, and our special teams coordinator is Darren Rizzi, former interim head coach of the New Orleans Saints. As for the Chargers, their offensive coordinator is Greg Roman, their defensive coordinator is Jesse Minter, and their special teams coordinator is Ryan Ficken. As for the quarterback matchup, we have Bo Nix, obviously for our Broncos, and obviously a horrendous first game of the season. Bounces back in the first half last week, kind of tailed off in the second half, so hoping he's going to play a strong 60 minutes, a strong 4 quarters here. But so far this season, he's completed 47 passes on 70 attempts, a 67% completion percentage, which isn't bad. Only 382 yards, though, hoping to get that number up. 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a passer rating of an 82. As for Justin Herbert, the other Oregon quarterback who wears the number 10 for the Chargers, he has been outstanding this season, completing 44 passes on 61 attempts for a 72.1% completion percentage, 560 yards through the first 2 games, and 5 touchdowns with an outstanding 127.8 passer rating. Justin Herbert has been phenomenal this season so far for the Los Angeles Chargers. As for the running backs, it's going to be J.K. Dobbins taking on his former team. And Dobbins, through the first 2 games, has been phenomenal for the Broncos. 30 carries for 139 yards, averaging 4.6 per carry, scoring 2 touchdowns with 3 receptions for 14 yards. J.K. Dobbins has been phenomenal. And it's been a drastic increase in our running game from last season to this season. Right, our running game last season was horrendous. J.K. Dobbins is coming in, and he's being a very steady running back for the Broncos, and it's a night and day difference to help out Bo Nix and this offense. Then you got R.J. Harvey, who had a really solid first career game. Then last game, he really struggled, averaging, I think it was 1.8 yards on the ground. So we want to see that number go back up, but still, 2 games, he has 11 carries for 78 yards. A large portion of that is that 50-yard run that he broke. He's averaging 7.1 yards per carry. Again, a big part of that is that 50-yard run, but, he had it. So he did run the 50 yards, so obviously it's going to inflate the numbers a little bit, but yeah, he also has 2 receptions for 15 yards out of the touchdowns. Has yet to score his first touchdown in the NFL. Hopefully we see that this week, but yeah, of course, we'll see. As for the Chargers front 7 who's going to be stopping this, it's going to be Deshaun Hand, Tier Tart, Jamar Caldwell, Tui Tuipulotu, Dayan Henley, Troy Dye, and Bud Dupree. And here's what this unit has done so far this season. Obviously, you want to an ideal scenario for the Chargers, you would have Khalil Mack in for Bud Dupree. He's out, though, so he's not going to be included in this stat line. But this front seven so far has 41 tackles, 11 pressures, 4 sacks, 9 quarterback hits, and 16 blitzes. By the way, I know that's Khalil Mack in the bottom right of the picture, but he is not playing in this game, as I mentioned earlier. As for the Chargers running backs, they have not gotten it going on the ground so far, so we'll have to see what happens this week, especially since we gave up a lot of yards to Jonathan Taylor last week. We'll have to see. It is the rookie Omarion Hampton, who a lot of people thought the Broncos were going to take in the draft. We passed on him. He goes to the Chargers, and so far he has struggled in his young career, and that's not a knock on him. I do think he's going to get it going. Sometimes players just take a little bit longer to adjust in the NFL, and I think that's happening with him. I still think he's going to be a solid player for the Chargers, but so far in his young career, has 23 carries for 72 yards, averaging 3.1 per carry with 3 receptions for 14 yards. So, yeah, I would expect more out of a Jim Harbaugh-led offense, right? Just because they're such a run-heavy offense. But at the same time, you got Justin Herbert, so they're going to be airing it out a little bit more as well. But I do expect Omarion Hampton to pick it up. Hopefully it's not this week versus the Broncos, but of course we will see. Then you have the veteran Najee Harris, who has 9 carries for 33 yards, averaging 3.7 a run and 3 receptions for 25 yards. It's mostly been Omarion Hampton, but Najee Harris has been mixed in there just a little bit. As for the front seven, who is going to be stopping the run for the Broncos, or at least attempting to, hopefully we do, it's going to be Zach Allen, DJ Jones, John Franklin Myers, Nick Benito, Alex Singleton, Justin Stranad, Jonathan Cooper, and yeah, that's the front seven. Now, I would say the weakness here, I don't think it's any surprise to any Broncos fans, I would say Alex Singleton and Justin Stranad are actually pretty solid in stopping the run, right? It's in pass coverage where those two really struggle. But so far this season, the Broncos, this front seven, has 45 tackles, 22 quarterback pressures, with Nick Benito being the highest. He has the highest pressure in the league so far this season through the first 2 games. This unit has 5 sacks. It's funny because, Jaquan McMillan has a sack, right? So I was wondering where the other sack was. I remembered it was on a cornerback blitz that Jaquan McMillan has a sack. But I believe Justin Stranad actually is currently the team's leading sack getter. I think he has 2 sacks so far. I could be wrong, but I believe that is the case. The Broncos, or I guess this front seven, also has 16 quarterback hits and has blitzed 26 times on the season. Now we get into the receiver cornerback matchup. A lot of people love these matchups. Here is how it's going down, and I'm not saying these guys are going to shadow each other. It's going to be these guys all game, right? Because players are going to move around. One player might match up on another player certain plays, but it's just easier to format it this way. But we got Courtland Sutton taking on Dante Jackson. Sorry. Dante Jackson was a solid addition for the Chargers, coming over from, was he on the Steelers or the Panthers last year? I can't remember, but he's played for those 2 teams coming over, and he's been very solid for the Los Angeles Chargers. Then you got Marvin Mims taking on Cam Hart in his second year out of Notre Dame. He's actually been really, really solid. And same thing with Tareeb Still, not a rookie. He's in his second year. Last year he was a rookie. He's from Maryland. He's actually a very solid slot corner that the Chargers have over there in LA. And he'll be matching up against Troy Franklin, who is honestly on the rise, and he's been really, really solid for us through the early part of the season. As for Sutton, he had a really strong week 1. And then last week, he only had 1 reception. In those 2 games, 7 receptions on 13 targets, 67 yards, averaging 9.6 a catch. And, of course, has the 1 touchdown, which came in week 1 versus the Tennessee Titans. You got Dante Jackson, and I just want to stress this. Stats, particularly stats when you're grading a corner or anyone in coverage, take them with a grain of salt, because they're going to be lying, they're going to be deceiving, they're not going to be accurate, they're not going to tell the whole story of who the player is. And I want you to keep that in mind for all the corners, linebackers, and safeties that we're about to cover using these stats, right? I just like to put them on the screen because they provide a nice graphic and they look nice visually, but these should be taken with a grain of salt. And I'm not saying that they're bad, even if the stats are good, right? I'm just saying take them with a grain of salt. But so far in the season, Dante Jackson has only allowed 3 completion on 10 pass targets, which is a 30% completion percentage. He's only given up 14 yards. Passer rating, I think I might have, and obviously I think I missed the passer rating allowed. But Dante Jackson has been pretty solid for the Chargers to start the season. So Courtland Sutton is going to have his hands full here in week 3. Then you got Marvin Mims in his 2 games so far, has 5 receptions on 6 targets for 36 yards, averaging 7.2 a catch. And he obviously has the 1 touchdown, which opened the scoring last week against the Indianapolis Colts. And then he was slowly phased out of the game after that. We did not hear his name a whole lot after that. I think he only had 2 receptions in the entire game, one of them, of course, being the touchdown. As for Cam Hart, he's allowed 6 completions on 12 targets, so a 50% completion percentage, giving up 91 yards, and has allowed a pass rating of a 75.3 when he was targeted. He has 1 missed tackle, which is a 14.3% missed tackle rate. No touchdowns given up, no interceptions, and has defended 0 passes this season. As for Troy Franklin this season, in 2 games, he has 12 receptions on 15 targets for 133 yards, averaging 11.1 per reception, and has scored obviously the touchdown last week. And Troy Franklin is actually the leading receiver so far for this team. And a lot of people had given up on Franklin before the start of the season, right? I was trying to say, hey, let's give him a chance. I just feel like our fan base, we give up on players too easy. And that's something I don't like, is when we're automatically, after 1 or 2 games, it's like, oh, this guy's a bust, give it up. He's not making an impact right away. A lot of our fan base does that so frequently, and it does get kind of annoying, but Troy Franklin starting to develop and starting to shine. He had a really solid game last week. Hoping we can continue that here into week number 3. As for who is going up against, Tareeb Still, who I actually think is a really solid slot corner. I think he's kind of underrated. He's allowed 9 completions on 12 targets, a 75% completion percentage. Has only allowed 39 yards and a pass rating of a 78.1 when targeted. Has 2 missed tackles, 2 passes defended. I think Still is really solid. So I guess underrated, I should say. But yeah, those are the 3 top corners for the Los Angeles Chargers heading here into week number 3. As for the tight end for the Broncos, it's going to be the Adam Trautman show with Evan Ingram out. Trautman had 4 receptions on 4 targets for 15 yards and 1 touchdown this season. Of course, scoring last week in the Colts game. So I don't know if we're going to be targeting the tight end a whole lot more, but to me, I do think it's very interesting that we've thrown it to Adam Trautman more than Evan Ingram this season. At least in terms of last week, I thought Trautman was getting more open. He was getting schemed more open than Evan Ingram. That's just my personal thoughts, but Trautman will be the tight end 1 this week for the Denver Broncos with Evan Ingram out. As for the linebackers they'll be going up against, and the running back too, right? It's Dan Henley, who you can see what he has done so far on the young season. I'm not going to read out every single stat line because we're getting late into the video, and you can obviously read and pause if you want to. But Troy Dye will be the other linebacker that the Broncos are going up against, and probably be a good idea to target his way. So far, he hasn't really been targeted and tested, but Dan Henley, I do think, is a very solid linebacker. So if you had to target one of the linebackers, I'd probably go after Troy Dye, but the Chargers defense has been absolutely stellar this season. It is not going to be an easy task for Bo Nix and the boys. As for the safeties, we got Derwin James and Alohi Gilman for the Chargers. Of course, Derwin James, one of the best safeties in the entire NFL, so you probably want to steer clear of throwing his way, Bo, right? But Derwin James has been an absolute menace since they drafted him in the first round in 2018. Derwin James is absolutely solid. Same thing with Alohi Gilman. He has played pretty solid as well for the Chargers so far in this young season. Let's get up to the Broncos corners versus the Chargers receivers matchup. You got Pat Surtain, and I know I have him lining up against Ladd McConkey. I expect Pat Surtain to shadow who's ever killing us the most, whether that be Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, who's had a very solid season so far, and then Keenan Allen, who's always seemed to have the Broncos number. We'll have to see what goes on. Right, Pat Surtain, obviously reigning Defensive Player of the Year, had a down game in Week 2. Hoping he can bounce back here in Week 3, going up against a really talented second-year receiver and Ladd McConkey. And then you got Riley Moss and Quentin Johnston. Right, Riley Moss, who had a really solid start last season, got injured, and then when he came back, struggled a little bit. Going up against Quentin Johnston, who has historically had drop issues and historically not lived up to that first-round hype, but so far in this young season, he has been phenomenal. And then you got Jaquan McMillan lining up against Keenan Allen in the slot. I would also expect maybe to see some Jahdae Barron going up against Keenan Allen, especially with this pass-heavy offense. And not only that, but Jahdae Barron, he's going to be physical. He's going to go up to the line of scrimmage, and he's going to hit a running back. He's going to blow up the screen. To me, I think you got to play Jahdae Barron a little bit more this season because he has the lowest played snaps out of any first-round player. I believe I saw that on Twitter. So I would like to see Jahdae Barron involved more, but right now, Jaquan McMillan is the starting nickel for the Broncos, and he's been pretty solid for us this season as well. So far, Ladd McConkey in his 2 games played has 11 receptions on 14 targets for 122 yards, averaging 11.1 on the season. No touchdowns yet, but I would expect that to change because Ladd McConkey is a phenomenal receiver. And this is why I say don't take these stats too seriously, right? Week 1, Pat Surtain was locked down, not allowing a single completion on any of his any of the stats in coverage. Pat Surtain did not allow a single completion, was only targeted once in that Week 1 game versus the Tennessee Titans. Then Week 2, he goes down, he gets hurt early, comes back into the game, which thank goodness, but then was tested and thrown at a lot by Daniel Jones. And, it wasn't his best game for sure. But every player is going to have a down game. And so it's young. The stats are inflated this season. I do expect Pat Surtain to fully bounce back and be that lockdown version of himself that we all know and love. As for Quentin Johnston, you can just see the masterclass he's put on through the season, and I don't think I expected to say that with 3 weeks in, but he has 8 receptions for 150 yards, averaging 18.8 per reception and 3 touchdowns on the season. Quentin Johnston has gone off through these first 2 weeks with the Los Angeles Chargers. Then you got Riley Moss, who'll be shadowing him, who, he's been solid so far this season, right? Arguably got away with a couple of pass interferences in that Colts game, but to me, Riley Moss has been very solid. I guess he was solid in the first game. The second game against the Colts, he was getting picked on a little bit and didn't have his greatest performance, but I still believe in Riley Moss as a corner, and I do expect him to bounce back here in Week 3. At least that's the hope. I know I'm saying that a lot, but that is the hope. I still think we have one of the best defenses in the NFL. Didn't really show it last week, and I'm hoping that they bounce back this week. As for Keenan Allen, the old Charger spent a year away with the Bears, came back, and so far in the season has 12 receptions for 129 yards and 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen always just seems to hurt and kill the Broncos, so I'm hoping this week it's going to be a little bit of a different story, but we'll have to see. With Ladd McConkey, and then obviously you have Quentin Johnston popping off. Those are 3 scary, scary targets that the Broncos are going to have to find a way to deal with. Specifically, Vance Joseph has to find who he wants Pat Surtain to shadow and cover. Where does he want Riley Moss? Where does he want Jaquan McMillan? How much snaps are you going to get Jahdae Barron? So it'll be interesting to see how Vance Joseph plays this really, really potent passing defense. And it's a Jim Harbaugh offense, so they're going to want to run and pound the rock at you too. So it's going to be a tough challenge for this Broncos defense this week. As you can see, though, Jaquan McMillan has been very, very solid. Only allowed 2 completions, but only for 13 yards. He's been really solid as a slot nickel corner. And like I said, I still like Jaquan McMillan. That's why I was surprised when we took Barron, like the Barron pick. But, he's still a really, really solid slot corner. So, yeah, he's been stellar to start the season, obviously playing in the slot in the nickel. Then you got Tyler Conklin for the Chargers, right? 2 receptions for 50 yards, right? Pretty solid. Tyler Conklin, I would say, is maybe their main receiving threat at the tight end position. I know Will Dissly is out, but he's more of their blocking tight end from what I've heard. So Tyler Conklin, I would assume, is their main receiving threat at the tight end position. Then you got Alex Singleton and Justin Strnad. This is where it gets scary in terms of their coverage. You can see how NFL offenses have killed us by targeting Alex Singleton coming off of that ACL injury. Wasn't the best guy in coverage anyway. So, yeah, Alex Singleton did not by any means have his best game, right? And, gave up that wheel route to Jonathan Taylor. I know it's hard to cover, but he was giving up a lot of plays left and right, and Strnad wasn't the greatest either, right? Strnad has 2 sacks, solid run defender, solid pass rusher, but we really need our linebackers to be able to play in coverage, which is why we're missing Drake Greenlaw so bad right now. As for the safeties, our safety tandem have been very, very solid. Brandon Jones has been stellar in the secondary, covering, obviously, as a safety, being that support in the back of the end zone. Not the back of the end zone, at the back of the field, at the end of the defense, right? He's that safety net. Brandon Jones has been very, very solid. Well, Talanoa Hufanga hasn't been the greatest in coverage. He's been flying around, and you have just been noticing him everywhere, making play after play after play, forcing the fumble on Tony Pollard in week 1, and just flying around, making hits, tackling the ball carrier, and just being a presence on the defense. And so, yeah, Talanoa Hufanga has been a very, very bright spot on this Denver defense. So the newcomer has been fitting in very well on the Broncos defense. As for the pass rush, here are our pass rushers. We got Nick Benito, Jonathan Cooper, Jonah Ellis, Q Robinson, who has been a healthy scratch with the first 2 games, Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers, and Dondrea Tillman. So far this season, this unit has 27 tackles, 17 pressures, 4 sacks, 14 quarterback hits, and has blitzed 17 times. And they were going up against a really solid offensive line of the Chargers, who've only given up 5 sacks this season, have faced 25 blitzes. Herbert has not been hurried so far this season. They've allowed 2 quarterback hits on Herbert, and he has been pressured 7 times, which is 9.6 of his dropbacks. So we need the leading pass rush leading pressure getter in Nick Benito to pressure Justin Herbert, because if he's allowed to sit back in the pocket and throw it, he is going to kill our defense, right? I like our secondary, but Herbert's been balling out this year. You cannot give him the time of day to sit in the pocket. So we need to get pressure on Justin Herbert. As for the Chargers pass rush going up against our offensive line, here are their pass rushers. It's Jashawn Hand, Tui Tuipulotu, Khalil Mack, who has the asterisk next to his name because he's not going to play in this game, Bud Dupree, Kyle Kennard, Tier Tart, and Jamari Caldwell. So far in the season, this unit has 17 tackles, 10 pressures, 3 sacks, 9 quarterback hits, and has blitzed 14 times. And they're going up against a really elite Broncos offensive line. I think Bo Nix has been pressured the least out of any quarterback, according to some graph, some chart on Twitter. I don't know. I don't really like to follow the graphs on Twitter or take a whole lot of stock in them. They're fun to look at, but I don't try and evaluate off of a chart or a grid. But Garrett Bowles, Ben Powers, Luke Wattenberg, Quinn Miners, and Mike McGlinchey have been really, really solid. Bo Nix has only been sacked once this season. They faced 18 blitzes. Bo Nix has been hurried 7 times, and they've allowed Bo Nix to be hit 3 times. Bo Nix has been pressured 11 times, which is on 14.9% of his dropback. So the offensive line have been very, very solid in terms of not only protecting Bo, but also opening up holes in the run game. And I'll be honest, I've been critical of them through the first 2 weeks, but I think it's always easier to be critical on the offensive line rather than compliment them, because you're going to see one bad play, you're going to see one missed block, right? One missed protection, a run's going to get blown up in the backfield, and you're going to blame the offensive line, and then that sour, bitter taste is going to be hard to get out of your mouth, because you're not really noticing when they succeed, because the play's happening, right? You're going to hit a big strike down the field. It's going to be a big run, and you're saying, yeah, let's go J.K. Dobbins, let's go Troy Franklin, and then you're not giving props to the offensive line. But the line has been pretty solid so far this season. Then it comes to the field goal kickers. And Will Lutz, I like Will Lutz. I do think he is a really, really solid kicker. Did miss a clutch kick. Obviously, that would have made it a 5-point lead, which would have forced the Colts to have to drive down the field and score a touchdown. So he has a 66% field goal accuracy, but he has hit every single extra point he attempted, which is good. I like Will Lutz. I'm hoping he bounces back in a big way here in week number 3. As for the Chargers, they have one of the best kickers in the NFL in Cameron Dicker. He's 4 for 4 this season and 5 for 5 on extra points. Very, very solid. As for the returners, we got Marvin Mims for the Broncos. So far this season has returned 4 punts for 47 yards and 5 kicks for 134 yards. Still waiting for him to break one for a touchdown. His last kick return came, I think, in week 3 a couple years ago against Miami in that 70-point blowout. That was the last time he returned a kick for a touchdown. Still waiting for him to break one. He's been close. He was super close last season, and yeah, just waiting for that big break in a kickoff return or a punt return. And then you got Darius Davis. I think he's not technically their sole returner. I think they use 2 returners back there in LA, but so far this season, I would say I would say Darius Davis is their main returner on the outside looking in. But he's only returned 1 punt for 7 yards and 1 kick for 29 yards. So, yeah, it's interesting to see if they're kind of phasing Darius Davis out of that returner role in LA. What are my final thoughts? I think this is a very challenging game for the Denver Broncos offense. The Chargers offense is playing at an elite level. And while I would typically say, especially after week 1, I would say, yeah, our defense is up to the challenge. They're going to be able to meet the Chargers offense, and it's going to be a clash of titans, right? It's going to be an unstoppable force versus a unmovable object. But after the Colts week or the Colts game, I'm kind of nervous. I'm kind of nervous about this defense, right? So Chargers offense is a really good one. I still think we have one of the best defenses. I think it was a lapse last week, but we'll have to see. We'll have to watch as the season goes on. And then not only that, the Chargers defense has been shut down elite. We saw what they did to Geno Smith on Monday Night Football, where he threw 3 interceptions and did not play his best game. It's going to be tough. Tough sledding for Bo Nix in the offense. So my final thoughts, I want to predict the Broncos win. I really, really do. But I don't know if I can be biased on this one. I think I have to go. The Broncos lose this one. I'm going 26-31, the final score. And man, I wish I could. I'm hoping I'm wrong. But right now, this early season, missing Drake Greenlaw and Evan Ingram, and with the role that the Chargers are on, I don't know if I can predict a win. I'm hoping for a win, and I still, just because I predicted the loss, I still believe the Broncos can win. I absolutely think that we can win this football game. But right now, with the role the Chargers are on, I think I have to take them winning this one. But yeah, as always, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel down below if you did enjoy this video. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Parker, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.